Deputy President. The previous 4 ABS provisional mortality statistics data releases reveal that 15.1%, 16%, 17% and 17.3% increases in excess deaths above the baseline average. Now, clearly something serious, I would say catastrophic, is occurring in Australia and in other parts of the world. Yet, strangely, the censorship industrial complex, namely the mainstream media and the health departments in this country, are almost entirely unconcerned about investigating this dramatic increase in excess deaths and why they may be taking place. An ABS data release dated 31 March 2021, dealing with data throughout 2020, the first year of the pandemic, reads as follows, and I quote, 141,116 doctor-certified deaths occurred between 1 January 2020 and 31 December 2020 and were registered by 28 February 2021. This equates to an average of 385.6 deaths per day, which is in line with the baseline average of 385.8. Basically, mortality rates didn't significantly rise in 2020, but drastically rose throughout 2022 after most of the population were injected with an mRNA shot for COVID. To put it another way, Australia had 141,116 recorded deaths in 2020 and 174,717 in 2022, an increase of 33,601 deaths over the baseline average. Now, I recall a lot of noise from the media and health departments in 2020 about every single COVID case and the associated deaths in the entire country. So I'm curious as to why the censorship industrial complex are so disinterested in the number of excess deaths that we're currently seeing post-vaccine rollout. One would have thought that this would be a great cause for alarm. Now, COVID-19 is associated with 8,824 deaths from January through to November of 2022, which, of course, doesn't necessarily mean in each case people died from it, but in some instances died with it, meaning another 14,062 of the excess deaths are not associated with the virus. Now, what could possibly be driving this increase that isn't COVID that was around that time in 2020? This trend, of course, is not isolated to Australia. Last year, the Scottish Parliament announced an inquiry into excess deaths in Scotland since the start of the pandemic, citing an 11% increase in excess deaths. Many European countries have also seen dramatic increases from the start of 2020 that simply cannot be dismissed as long COVID. Eurostat, the official statistical office of the European Union, recently published an article which read, excess mortality in the EU in December 2022 soared to 19% up of the average number of deaths for the same period in 2016 to 2019, the highest recorded value in 2022. According to Eurostat, Germany saw a 37.3% increase in deaths compared with their 2016 to 2019 average. For France, 24.5%, the Netherlands 22.7% and Ireland 25.4%. Again, the censorship industrial complex and the health departments seem largely unperturbed by what to me looks like a global catastrophe. Over in the US, the CDC's data reveals 300,000 excess deaths above the baseline average, which were not actually attributable to COVID-19. Now, given the hysteria and fear propaganda we experienced 2 to 3 years ago, surely such incredibly high excess deaths across the world would spark some interest. Is it due to long COVID? Is it due to climate change? Or maybe it's systemic racism and white supremacy? Who knows? But if there was some way of determining a common factor between all of these deaths, like, for example, if they'd received a particular medical treatment, for example, that would provide some clarity as to what's causing this phenomenon and perhaps help us save some lives. Well, of course, there is a way of determining, getting to the bottom of what's happening. It's just that your health bureaucrats, politicians and your blinkered corporate media handmaiden journalists, they don't want you to know.
Thank you, Senator.